don't need good, honest Overwatch. I like it scrappy. I like when the teams just cook a little bit with it. Now, I do want to talk about this first match of the day. Yes, Team Peps played really, really well last week, but I think Twisted Minds is a different kind of beast to go up against. Peps exceeded expectations. Willies and Dips, honestly, they stood out, right? The new additions really did a lot for them. FD got not a sacrificial lamb anymore, not in week 1 anyway, so that can still change. But overall, I think the team looked improved and probably going to look like a solid mid-table team.
No, for sure. I mean, Willies and Dip were good in stage 2. Obviously, the team kind of like peaked really early, but now with like the support group of like Zerion and FT God and Zaro playing really well, they played a lot of different compositions last week. They looked really strong in just about all of them. It is against Quick Esports, so we'll see how that goes moving forward. But if there was one game I'd be looking at today that's like a little bit of a sleeper, maybe it's that first one here with Peps and TM.
Possibly. I mean, Matt's gonna say that because he just put 2 Peps players on his new fantasy roster, so he needs them to do well. He's definitely looking forward to that. So look out for Dip and Willies. He certainly got some investments.
Diva is in the portrait now. Diva has joined the fray.
People grow. People
Not
grow.
MIA. Yep. Good stuff. Thanks, production. It's a nice little fix. We can appreciate that. Now, things we appreciate is also, of course, Twisted Minds staying dominant. Another 5-map series in the bag in their opening match against OWCS, because when they play against each other, that's just kind of where they're taking it. We saw different looks from them. How will they stack up against other teams? We would still consider them like the top 2 teams and the team to beat, right?
Yes, I think without a doubt, like TM and OWCS are still the best 2 in the region. But the series, like for the first 2 games, right, where OWCS takes a 2-0 lead, like weren't particularly close. So I'm curious if Twisted Minds comes out with like the same type of comps it was last week, or if they decide to kind of move in this direction. We see OWCS was kind of playing for a lot of the series. Like this is like a crazy reverse sweep type of scenario that Twisted Minds was not able to close out. So that's partially I'm curious what we see from them against Peps early on, right? And maybe that's why I think this game could be a little bit closer, but Twisted Minds could also just kind of show that they're so far ahead that only against OWCS they're going to look beatable.
I think Twisted Minds is still obviously one of the top teams in the region. I don't really have any.
Okay. KSA in? Okay.
So if this is to be, so KSA is in.
They are doing this to me on purpose.
Into TVNT. So Matt, did you just a question? Did you sub out KSA from your starting lineup?
I benched KSA. And yeah, I mean, come on, man. What's going on? I'm always nice at Twisted Minds. People whenever I see them, like, what's going on here? Are you just out to get my fantasy team? Like between the
this
my
is all
fantasy
about you.
team
This
wins,
is not about them winning or not winning.
I'm battling the teams, you guys. Production tried taking picks away from me. I mean, that's right. It's just crazy.
You kept trying to snipe Rose's picks. You're like, can I have Rose's? You just kept going for her players.
But you know what? This might just be for control. Okay, we didn't get to see any KSA last week. UB, of course, also not, like low-key meta benched both of them. Let's see if they bring them in from map 2 or not. We're about to find out. If UB would have played today for
Psycho, I would have went crazy. If they would have played,
I would have went crazy.
They can still do that from map 2.
I would have just lost
it.
Well, again, they can still do that from map 2. So let's find out what I have in store for us.
We need
Kevin,
to put a rule in they can't.
Take it away.
Avril, can you believe just how much everybody here is trying to gang up against me to try and win this fantasy? But I think this could be a closer game than people are giving potentially credit for. I was really impressed with Peps last week. In Twisted Minds, obviously a completely new meta. You would think globally a new meta, right? Maybe not as much here in EMEA, but they looked pretty beatable in those first 2 games against OWCS.
I just think that between those 2 teams, they look beatable because the other team is OWCS. It would probably not look the same if it was a different team, and that may end up being Peps. You go back against Peps, like, whoa, okay, this is what TM is supposed to look like, and obviously against OWCS, it's just going to be much different. So we're going to start out with Lijiang Tower, Twisted Minds, first pick. I'm going to try and rationalize this KSA change a little bit. Obviously, he is normally the starting player on the tank position for this team. If you watched the mid-season championship we just had, KSA played like the entire time. We didn't have any TVNT. We'll talk about the Lijiang Cassidy bans in a second here as well. But to me, TVNT's strengths over KSA were probably more over towards the Diva Hazard side, more over towards the dive side, whereas KSA, we probably think of him more of as a brawl tank on the Ram, on the Arista, stuff like that. So my question is going to be, when we go into this game, is that what KSA is going to come into play? Is he just going to come into play some brawl heroes? By the way, Ram nerfed, armor bug finally fixed, so I don't know if that's going to be the case. Is he just going to play the same heroes as TVNT? That would be a big question mark as to why TVNT is suddenly benched.
And the bans are quite interesting, right? We did see FD got play a bit of the Lijiang last week. And for Twisted Minds, one of the biggest things for me was just the amount of Cassidy we saw, really on both sides, in that matchup. So Cassidy goes here early on. I don't even think that's necessarily a bad thing, though, right? For TM, like the Cassidy's gone, great. Like you still have the Soj available. Court's not necessarily like a Freya player. There's maybe like one or two moments here on Lijiang you would want to play the Freya, but I don't think that Cassidy ban is going to be like game altering per se.
Let's see if he goes on a Reaper. Again, when you see what Korea is heading towards, it is heading heavily over towards Reaper. Course is yet to lock in his hero. Soj is going to be the choice. I was thinking maybe he'll lean into a different direction, but Soj still going to be good here. Cass is obviously much more preferred on the opening round of Control Center. Overall, I think the Lijiang ban is not super impactful. I think that Lucio ban is way more impactful against a guy like FD God. So we'll see how that goes further forward. But Matt, let's talk about it. The Rhine there. As we got to pause here, there's a Rhine here. I mean, if this is a real Rhine, this is wild. Does KSA play Rhine? Is that one of his heroes?
No, not. I wouldn't put that down as one of his preferred heroes. We did see Reinhardt on Lijiang Tower last week from Sky Tour, and I believe it was at Quick Esports. So we did see some Reinhardt last week. It wasn't like, oh man, everybody should be running to go pick up the Reinhardt. So maybe this is just like a Control Center opening kind of strategy that they think maybe it's like a Rhine. They think they're going to catch them off guard playing like a Hazard or something like that on the other side. I think
they're trying to counterpick the Zarya. I think they're expecting the possibility of a Zarya on the other side. I think we're moving maybe towards a Zarya type of Reaper meta, so they may be thinking, okay, if they go Zarya on this side, we're going to go Rhine. I don't think we've got that much footage of KSA on Rhine, but I did also say to you, Matt, like he is probably more known as a brawl tank specialist on the team compared to KSA, despite them both being quote-unquote off-tank players, right? So this would be why he's in here. I asked, is he going to play Ram or Orisa? Ryan is actually going to be the choice, but then once he realizes it's not going to be Azari on the other side, does he then swap over towards the Hazard himself? Does he then think about a Diva? Right, that's going to be the question.
Yeah, I mean, potentially. I'm curious, why do you think we are trending towards Zarya Reaper?
Because Korea's playing. But also,
right, but like just because Korea picks him, but like, why do you think the meta is going in that direction?
Right, because we started with Lucio. We started with Tracer Genji in Korea. It was like a Tracer Genji Winston / ball dive. Obviously, a lot of great ball players in Korea, so there's a ton of ball being played there. A lot of teams are scrambling for potential counters to these tanks. That's where you see the Hog coming in from. That's where you see some of the Sombra coming in from. Then Reaper started to get put in the mix there as well. Reaper, by the way, has a new minor perk from this season, which allows him to basically TP a little bit quicker on a Shadow Step. And that's made a bit of a reasonable difference in terms of how fast he can sort of not only rotate, but how quickly he can get into positions that timing-wise teams are not quite used to, and he's just a lot more flexible. You can sort of dodge things as well. He TPs quickly enough now that you can sort of reactionary dodge certain things coming your way if you're fast enough, so that may be a bit of a reason as well. Zarya and Reaper work together well. Zarya plays great into Genji. Genji was a real mainstay before we sort of moved away from that. Europe's EMEA and NA have only had 1 week, so we don't sort of have the exact same locked-in meta. Now we'll sort of figure this out together as KSA. He is going to swap away from the Rhine, which if he did play the Rhine, I would have been like, that's great. That does make sense. But if he's not going to play it, I think it's because we're now going over towards 9 markets, as Diva says. So wait till we get the control center again. He might lock in the Rhine one more time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's more for the points specifically. And then for Peps, I was going to say, they're going to be running the Freya here with Willies on the Hazard, but you ban the Cassidy, that allows Quartz to play the Sojourn. I mean, he is tremendous on that hero. He gets a pick that is so early, and look at the position it's actually forced Peps back to, basically just back to their choke. That is about as good of an opening start as you get for TM.
I mean, Quartz straight away, Zoro down. I think Zafari is maybe a little bit of a risky pick going into this particular map. And Quartz, no stranger playing into it either. And for Twisted Minds, early cap, a little bit of pressure onto Willies. There's Funny Asher down there in trade.
Yes, we've got a little bit of a pause here, so we'll see kind of what's going on, where it looks like Twisted Minds, right? They get control of the point first, a quick 8%, but you allow the side of Peps to kind of get out of that spawn kind of choke area, and they make their way straight to the point right behind that hazard. They get, I believe they get Funny Astro there towards the end. And this looks like a 4-on-2, 4-on-3 position on the point. So Peps, once we get back in the game, should be able to flip this and not give up a significant amount of time to Twisted Minds. Yeah,
I mean, Willies is like, as we get the pause, he's half HP, but there's a huge trade there in terms of, okay, Zoro went down early, Willies is here now, there's a DMAC onto KSA as well, Funny Astro is down, so Team Peps in a strong position to be able to get a nice quick flip on here. And also to reiterate again, the Lijiang ban to me, not particularly strong so far in the opening. I don't think Peps really needs it. Let's see where this one goes.
Is I know you get KSA DMAC, you take him out right away, and there's nowhere for Quartz to get to, and my guy Willie's coming up with 2 or 3 there during that fight. So you'll take control of high ground. I actually will push back. I think FD God has been playing much better on stuff that is not the Lucio as of late. I think he's in a much better spot in terms of like the amount of heroes he can control in his pool.
He's certainly far away ahead of Funny Asher in terms of ult charge, given that Funny Asher did go down. Team Peps will be happy about the fact that they'll be able to have some support ultimates, but not before Simple match. Simple's already about get Kitsune rush timing, which will be just a couple moments here. Twisted Minds are going to get on point without that though.
Yes, it'll be a Kitsune rush here from Simple, so this will open it up. You see everybody from Peps just trying to move their way off of the point, try and kite this for as long as possible. They do get KSA, so it'll be a trade in terms of tanks. Twisted Minds here, Apple, they'll get the point, but Peps in a good position here. I was going to say, the Bola shot comes out, and then it was a Kitsune rush. I thought you may have been able to fight back after that, which it looks like maybe there's a chance here Peps actually flips it, and they do, so... I was going to say, after all those ultimates used by Twisted Minds, for Peps to hold on to both support ultimates and then come back and fight it, they were in a good spot to flip it, and they did.
Credit to FD God. He got the counter trade there. Zoro goes down as the Kitsune rush from Zerian comes through, and FD God has to make a decision about whether he wants to throw the beat in there as well. Zerian, it's basically a 3v5, 3v4 type of situation. We throws down the Kitsune rush, and Team Peps able to come out ahead of that one, despite Twisted Minds basically double ulting there. And Asher waiting for his
sound barrier here. Sound barrier from Peps. It'll actually be a later sound barrier here from Twisted Minds, right? So it's going to be an overclock here as well. So none of the overshield here for Peps to try and keep them alive through the overclock from Quartz, and he kind of does his job there. He gets 2, and this should be a flip here for TM. Just a few more players here from Peps. Looks like FD God maybe dip here alive, just trying to stall this for as long as possible. So 83% on the point there. For Peps, pretty good hold there from them.
You see what Quartz can really bring to the serve here. A number of times that he's been able to take down Zoro early in these fights. It's another sort of situation where I think the low HP of Freya, to be fair, Soj also had no HP nerf, but the lower range slightly gives Quartz an advantage in these types of battles. Now Simple looking for first support ult here, holding on to point control. Team Peps has it engaged here with a downpour, would be quite nice.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to drag them back, right? So, Dip's just trying to get some of these players to go back to the point, respect his presence, and then use some of these ultimates. That's going to be a nice Suzu there.
One caught
from Simple. It actually may have been a little bit too early. He doesn't actually protect Funny Astro from the downpour.
Big stick from Psycho, though. Psycho's taking the game into his own hands here. Team Peps, not enough alive to be able to contest this one. Twisted Minds, just barely an extra player in hand. That's after losing Funny Astro to the downpour, which, by the way, difficult ultimate, I think, for Willies to truly land safely, given that you have KSA that can just eat most of it, a lot of mobility on the characters on Twisted Minds, and a Suzu on top of everything else, and still they catch Funny Astro.
I mean, that is a huge fight, though, for TM to be able to win, right? I know as you lose Astro there, you're able to hold on to the point, because a flip here from Team Peps basically just kind of like puts them in position to take the round, and that's going to be Dip in the Tracer battle on the side, taking out Psycho, so this is a huge opportunity.
DMAC into the rush. KSA a little bit vulnerable here. Double bolts could have ended Simple's life, but Quartz is so close to OC. You gotta really be careful about Quartz here. He can turn the game around. We've already seen what he did in the previous OC.
The point flips, though. point does flip, so Team Peps in control here. Willie's just trying to force some of these players back. It's going to be a bola shot in towards the choke. Does no damage, doesn't really connect with much of anything. Now it'll be Twisted Minds moving forward, just trying to build towards this sound barrier.
He's low, but he survives. OC finally comes on through. A little bit of pocketing from KSA on the Matrix to keep it alive, and a counterflip coming through with Twisted Minds and a further kill on the dip. There's not enough players alive, and there's still more ultimates available with Twisted Minds. This is the cleanup map. This is the start of the 1-0 on this map.
Yeah, it's going to be the sound barrier here at the end. Just celebration there for Funny Astro. Dip will get here to touch. Hold on. You know, FD God gets there as well, but Dip probably just going to throw his body at the point. Yeah, it doesn't have recall here, so this should be the end. A very close round. The Twisted Minds comes out on top in the end.
Really putting the trust in the team there. Courts just sliding on in. We've seen that go wrong before. Slides in, you can get taken down so quickly. A Willis slash by leaping in is not going to be protected by KSA's Matrix there, so really putting a lot of faith in KSA's Matrix to prevent Quartz from dying, but you can tell how desperate he was to find the final dredges of ult charge to get that OC, that overclock underway. And again, he pulls through the overclock, instant value, then double support ultimates available, and more so than that, Funny Astro, he ends without even having to use the sound barrier. They even had an extra ultimate in the back pocket if they actually needed it, and they did it. That's a strong finish for Twisted Minds.
So this is a opportunity, right, where they potentially you run the Rhine, but it looks like actually for Twisted Minds, they're just not going to mess with it. So something they highlighted, I know, pre-pause, but they're actually going to bring the Sim into the mix. So Sim here going up against the Reaper, as Reaper can get pretty close to the Sim and just kind of burn her down, but they lose Dip right away there. Simple just kind of moving in behind the Sim and the D.Va, able to just get so much free fire there on the Kiri, gonna allow Twisted Minds. They should be able to double back towards the point after cleaning up some of these players and take it.
Not inconsequential trades coming through. They did see at least a few go down, including double supports. It's going to slow down their ult charge. It's going to mean that Funny Astro and FD God are going to get a little bit more parity. Zerion's not that far behind from Simple, though these timings do matter, Matt. But interestingly, you don't have Yubi on this team to play the Symmetra in the starting lineup. But Psycho's saying, I can pick this up. Yubi will give me some tips. And it did work out for them in the opening fight.
What do you think about this Venture swap? I know this is really going to be very difficult, I think, to keep that Sim alive, right? With the Venture and the Reaper putting pressure on it, but if you can't find the area to get in there on the Venture, it's going to be very difficult to deal with Quartz, right? He just slides, backs up, and he's able to just put down so much fire at range. It's really going uncontested. As Twisted Minds wins that fight with ease.
A great thing about the Sim here as well is that actually it's kind of a soft counter towards the hazard. We've seen counter hazard comps before. Typically those would be both Sim and Tor, but for Twisted Minds, Quartz is going to be way more of a carry on his signature Sojin look. And you asked me about the Dip Venture, as I sort of just quickly noted there, it is a counter to the Symmetra. This is Dip's response. So even moving over towards the Trace now. They want more mobility, they want more flanking power. And Funny Astro goes down before beats available.
That should be a pickoff. Well, I actually trade Lucio's there. So FT God was 99 to that sound barrier as well. You would have had a support ultimate advantage there. The Kitsune rush used by both sides. And when you lose FT God, you lose that advantage. I mean, that is a brutal loss there for Peps, because that would have been a fight where you actually have an advantage to be able to flip that point and kind of stop the bleeding. But Twisted Minds, Admiral, they hold on to even more ultimates, and now they're going to be in a position like one fight decides it.
I mean, this is going to not have enough ultimates. FD God might have to drop his feet right now to live. He's just going to try and kite away from the OC. Zerion's gone too low. FD God must pull the trigger. Funny Astro responds. There's a downpour catch, I believe, one, but so far the Matrix looks good. No, not quite. Psycho still falls.
Yeah, the Matrix doesn't end up kind of protecting anybody there, as you do end up losing one with the downpour. I believe you end up losing Psycho, and you don't invest the Sim barrier into it. So I think if you are Twisted Minds, though, you're fine getting this, 99. It looks like they want to continue to fight it, though, because Funny Astro's back now off the spawn.
Good
you
shot.
still have Quartz here and KSA, and that's a huge shot there on Azoro. Willie's dangerously low. I don't think they're going to be able to heal him up, and even after all of that, it'll be a map 1 win here for Twisted Minds, Avril, as Peps definitely gave them a bit of a game.
At least on that first point, that first round, but I think as we moved a little bit further forward, you get the control center, the Sim strats come on through, and honestly, you close your eyes and you sort of
or rather, you don't have to close your eyes, but you can just sort of, if you just eliminated the team names from the picture, the player names, you're thinking, well, this is just Yubi coming in, playing some Symmetra, they're just dominating the other team. But it's actually Psycho on the sim. And obviously with Yubi on the bench here, anytime Twisted Minds want to play sim, typically it's been with Yubi. The fact that you can drop in Psycho and sort of make the sim work as well, and he looked good on that. Got a number of great kills, and I'm sure being one of the top sim teams in the world, it's very easy for someone like Yubi to just tell and do a little bit of coaching for Psycho to be like, okay, this is what we're going to do with sim. This is how we play as a sim team. Psycho understands how that sort of works. So just plug it in and play. And Twisted Minds, they're looking as good on the sim as they left off. And for Team Peps, don't have a good answer. They went towards Adventure, didn't do enough with them.
Yeah, if there's ever an opportunity as well, right, for UB, if you want to play kind of that sim the entire time, right, you can kind of bring him on in. So a really good opportunity to just kind of cycle those players in. Interesting though, Twisted Minds obviously doesn't have a coach, so it would be UB who decides to put himself
he's their de facto coach.
Yes. Oh, you actually see that bola there from Zoro. Did connect with Quartz, but it's a really nice Suzu there. Prevents some of the damage that comes in there from Simple. So this is a really, I think this series, I'm curious where Peps will take us, but I thought that even in a loss, right, they played Twisted Minds pretty well.
Again, specifically definitely on that 9 market. Control Center, things got a little bit wild again. I just don't think Peps really have perhaps the wherewithal to be able to play counter against the sim. They just 0 to 100 Matt really tells the entire story. I also think it's maybe a little bit of a struggle for Willies to find the same sort of value. I think for a dive choice, you're going to play Hazard, which is more of a dive tank, has some brawl characteristics, finding a lot more value, particularly if you remember that first fight after Zoro gets picked by Quartz, and then we get on towards the point. Willies gets 2. He gets a kill onto Funny Astro, a D-Mech onto KSA, and then they instantly flip. So Willies had a lot to say in that opening 9 market, and unfortunately a lot less to say on Control Center.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we see KSA through the rest of the series. We didn't see him at all last week. We see him here in map number 1, and curious like if this is just kind of a tank swap for the first game for Lijiang Tower. A lot, up to question here moving forward in this series. But Avril, you obviously were on the show last week here for EMEA, but we got our DHL moments where you guys at home, and even you, Avril, quite frankly, if you go to the link that they'll flash up here in a second, all you have to do is predict your winner of EMEA and NA, and you're in the running, right? Obviously, if you win, they win, those teams, the better, but you're in the running to go to Stockholm. Who would you predict here, Avril? You obviously have a little bit of a cheating head start because you got to watch week 1, but what would you say?
Well, I will say also that week 1 doesn't tell you the whole story either, so it is a little bit of maybe an homage, but I will say that so far I think OWCS changes still put them in the head for me. They just beat Twisted Minds again, although it is week 1 and teams are figuring out the meta. The addition of Chase is really interesting because it sort of rounds out their flexibility as a team and what they can play. So now they can sort of move more towards the main tanks. Ball as well, which is quite a bit of a rare pick across EMEA and North America. Chase is going to be one of the few players on the tank position that can actually bring that out. They don't look super well practiced with Chase yet, so that will still take some time. But I think I trust that OWCS currently is still the top team in EMEA.
And what about NA? You also didn't even wave at Cargo, which is just rude. We all say hello when Cargo. Well, he's gone now. I mean, no sense to wave towards Cargo now.
Did you wave, Matt? I didn't see you wave. Did you wave?
I did.
Okay.
I waved numerous times last week. Me and Cargo were boys. But what about NA? You got to pick NA as well. There you go. You have an opportunity.
Okay, I'll do one real quick. There we go. I like that you didn't do it, Matt. That's fine. I'm gonna stick with my guns here and be boring and pick GK on this one because they're the 2 incumbents for the 2 regions that have just most recently won. I still think GK super well-rounded, top team in the region. I think it's them or Team Liquid in my eyes. So yeah, it's hard to choose. I'll just go with GK for now. I think they're a good choice.
Pretty fair picks, but if you're out there, you want to go to Stockholm, you're trying to figure out how to way to get there, go to that link, put in your who you think's going to win NA and EMEA. You got a chance to win it. Come join us in what probably will be snowy and cold Sweden, but it'll be a good time. OWCS finals was awesome last year, but moving through the rest of the series, right, Avril, it'll be map selection and first ban here for Team Peps. A lot of like what we saw last week. They did play some like Tracer Genji with the Hazard, but they looked like they want to play a lot of Hazard. I'm curious, where do you think they decide to take us?
I actually think that I'm a little concerned for Zoro as well. I wasn't too convinced about the Freya on that opening map. They're going to go with it looks like I was considering one of the air score maps a little bit more long range if you really want to play the Freya and make that work. You've also noted a little bit earlier on, Matt, that Quartz doesn't play as much Freya. I think he still plays reasonable amounts, but it's not going to be his specialty, right? He wants to play as much Soj. You could go to something like one of the escort maps, ban away the Soj, force a Freya matchup, and that could be a potential winning situation for them. They want to go to Ike, which is if they want to keep playing the Haz, I think this is fine.
Yeah, they played the Wu Young last week here on Eichenwalde. That was a ban that comes in from Twisted Mind, so that is free, available for Peps, unless they decide to get rid of it early on. And Peps decides to get rid of the sim, so this is a really good call, right? You have this one sim ban throughout the rest of the series, but on the other side, Twisted Minds, right? They get rid of the Hazard, which we've seen Willies play a lot last week. He can play a lot of other tanks, so not exactly like a Hazard one trick by any stretch of the imagination.
This is interesting because I think Willies would have wanted to play the D.Va anyway. I'm not convinced he was going to go Hazard, especially when you look at last week's game. As you mentioned, they did play Eichenwalde last week, and Willies was on that D.Va. He's probably more well known for the D.Va anyway. I'd probably look at this map being, I don't know if I would say it's more favored for D.Va, but I just think history would dictate that Willies would have wanted to play D.Va. So I'm not too sure if the Hazard ban is going to be that impactful here. Symmetra ban is going to be very impactful because I think you just want to get that out of the picture. You don't want to have to deal with that at all. They showed already on that control center they were having troubles dealing with that. And Eichenwalde, you look at what Symmetra can do, particularly moving through B is one of the stronger points. But even on A, just getting behind your team quickly, you don't want to have to deal with that if you're Peps. So that's a nice ban.
They did play some of the Hazard last week, but towards like that second part of the map, that's where we see teams kind of go towards that D.Va for like the mobility to get up towards the top of the castle. So it's something though you can easily play D.Va the entire time. So it's going to be Twisted Minds
also
up 1-0 in the set. Yeah, what are you saying?
The sim ban also protects the Freya if Zora wants to continue playing that as well. It does seem like Zora very much wants to play the Freya today, so perhaps Twisted Minds will bring out a Freya ban at some point. Look out for that in the third map or beyond.
Yeah, that's a good shot. I mean, this is a good map for Freya as the sight lines are extremely long, right? Good vertical mobility. So we'll see if the Freya comes out for either of the teams throughout this. It's probably more going to be on the team Pep side, like for Zoro. Quartz we haven't seen play. No, he's played a little bit more actually. Towards the end of stage 2. Those dive tanks filled by Ice Gnome. You have Kepster who can do just about everything, right? Also worth of note that KSA decides to stay in here
as well
for Twisted Minds, and I mean Roadhog off the rip. Okay, so this is something vastly different than anybody would have expected. What is the logic here, Avril?
We've seen Roadhog in Korea, but it was mostly in response to Bull, potentially in response to Winston. Is Willies to you a Winston play? To me, he's always been more of an off-tank type of player.
You can definitely play some Winston. I wouldn't say like you can't, right? There's some players that you actually see in EMEA that you just like you don't want them on Winston, but Willies can definitely do it.
The audience as well, just so you understand, for the people watching, Og did get a buff in a hotfix about a week or two ago, where he can one-shot now again, so he can genuinely be a damage threat and a pick threat. But KSA on Hog, not something we see very often, if ever. I'm curious how this is going to work.
He kind of like doesn't really get a hot fix for Hog. It's actually just like kind of a complete reversion, right? They tried to change his kit with like the pig pen, like the
hot
trap.
Fix was a damage buff. So they did the reversion, but then they hot fixed the damage buff on top of that. So then they gave him the one shot back.
But I mean, having the ability for one shot for Hog, I mean, is massive, especially with Tracer out there, or Wu Young, like a lot of different ability. I mean, you see how much damage he puts into Willies there. By the way, just takes down the whole armor.
Og has a perk now that gives him longer range than the right. He's a genuine middle range threat, medium range threat. As we look at Willie's HP disappearing quite quickly. He's not on the Winston. Smart choice. Don't want to be playing that into the Hog. However, the D.Va right now is still a bit of a struggle. He's barely being kept alive. Suzu being used there to keep him up.
Yeah, I mean, just taking tons of poke damage from all different directions. I don't think this is going to end well for Peps because you're getting flanked here by the Roadhog, so you get kind of pinched there in that lower part of the map. It feels like Willie's got to get off the side. Okay, I was going to say you can't get staggered on the D.Va for that long, and that's a first fight win there for Twisted Minds. Peps Willie specifically takes a ton of damage trying to wrap through that bottom side, and they just get kind of collapsed on there by Twisted Minds.
This is the type of situation as well where if Zora wasn't so far ahead in ult charge, and that's to be expected, I'm afraid, to be fair, you could go towards a Soj and not quite hard counter the Hog, but use Hog similar to how you would play into Amalgam, just charge free rails days on days end. So as a possibility for Zoro a little bit later on, but we did also discuss Freya quite nice on this map, especially on B. He has to be a little bit worried about KSA there, who does miss his opening hook.
Oh, nice boulder shot, though. That connects. I mean, Simple and Funny Astro take a ton of damage. It looks like maybe even the Suzu not available at the time. Can Peps capitalize on this, though? That's the big difference maker here is they try and make a play for Quartz. They do a nice job keeping him alive.
Goes down to Quartz, though, who's really close to the OC now. Twisted Minds will have their full team available very, very soon. Simple making his way back over. Back in time, using the TPs. Obviously, double Katsuna rush is being played through. Funny Astro, a couple % away from using his beat, which would be critical in this fight. He's going to drop that now. I believe that's a bubble from FD God onto Willies. Don't know if it's going to explode onto anyone just yet.
No, I mean, it's a good sound barrier there from Bunny Astro, just kind of stabilizing the team, keeping them up. They do give up a significant amount of percentage, though, on the point here to Peps, right? Peps gets 95% there towards taking that first checkpoint, but they're starting to get into really dangerous territory here, though, Avril, right? Below a minute on the clock here shortly. No ultimates, really. Just that self-destruct, right? But that's more to just get Willies a new mech back to work with. In Twisted Minds, I mean, you got Whole Hog, you got Pulse Bomb, you got an Overclock. You're in position here for Twisted Minds to get a first point hold.
It's the OC. The OC is a real troublesome part. The other two ultimates are neither here or there. KSA could maybe get something done on that Whole Hog, but we know what Quartz can do on the OC, and that is the biggest threat right now. Team Peps, they need an answer to it. Quartz, very easy, can find that opening pick, and the only reason Peps have these 2 picks is because Simple went down early, and now, well, it's another first pick from Quartz in a dip. Do you even have time to reset? You're gonna have to.
I don't think so. No, I mean, you lose Willies now, and then also you have a few players here trying to run back through the chunks. Some nice damage here just kind of gives Quartz some pause, but he just pushes on forward. You're gonna get maybe both supports out of this. Funny Astro finishes off FD God. Everybody marching towards the spawn.
Yeah, I mean, you absolute spawn camping. You know the touches are coming through Willies. But what about the Malga? Now moving over towards the ball. Knows that his job is going to be the touch dip. Obviously going to have to look for that as well. Flanks need to be covered here if you are Twisted Minds. Note that KSA's Whole Hog now in the OT. Very important. Pushing people off that point.
Oh, Willie's just trying to go over the top. Is he going to be able to get around here and get a touch?
1 second.
It looks like and he actually gets hooked. He was making his way towards the point, gets hooked. Whole Hog pushed him back, so Willie's not able to get a touch. Nobody else in position, and that's how Pep's offense ends.
I mean, this is looking quite dire given that 2 ticks and Twisted Minds are off to a 2-0 start. Man, I know you had high hopes for this series, but as I sort of said at the beginning of the day, it is looking like a potential 15-0 3 Overwatch kind of day given how strong some of the teams in these matches are compared to their opposition, Twisted Minds, and that's nothing against Team Peps. It's just that TM, they're top dogs in the region for a reason. You're seeing it right now, the willingness to be able to really shake up the meta as well. KSA Hog, I mean, very unexpectedly coming through from Twisted Minds, but works a treat. Didn't die, didn't go down one time, never punished at all.
And I mean, nobody cares about it but me, but my fantasy team. I picked up Willies because I didn't think KSA would play. KSA plays, and they're just running through Willies. I mean, it's just an unfortunate scenario here for my fantasy team.
And,
not looking great.
Unfortunately, Dip as well.
Given
that Quartz has been continually, Quartz is continually getting those 1 picks.
Dip is also here as well. Also, you know, a member, a representative of my fantasy team.
Team Matt.
Yeah.
You want to know something fun?
Yeah, what?
Team Avril, Psycho, popping off a little bit for me. Me personally enjoying that one. Thank you, Psycho.
Look,
base Psycho.
My team, I think I'm just gonna start outsourcing it. I'm gonna go into like OC's stream and you know, apply and let them just decide my fantasy roster for the broadcast. Just let them just figure it out for me.
Twitch chat plays Matt's fantasy team. Yeah, do that way.
Willies will try the Roadhog here on defense. So a rare Roadhog v Roadhog action. Yeah, that's a massive hook here off the start, just getting out of position. But Willies responds to the hook, puts some damage into KSA, so trying to prevent him from just pushing up. And I mean, Psycho just takes out Zerion. I mean, just gets right up into the back line. You do have that trade come through, but losing a support early on here for Peps, especially in their position, is tough.
Psycho's already back up, and he's a tracer. It's not going to take him long to be able to get back towards point. 1 tick is already gone, Matt. This might be the beginning of the end. FD God falls. KSA is traded. Willie's still alive at the moment, but Team Peps, they're just down on members. There's way closer respawns from Twisted Minds, and I think this is it.
Yeah, it's going to be TM here, taking map number 2. Pretty dominant fashion behind a Roadhog comp from KSA on defense. You also continue to run the Roadhog there on offense, and you see how impactful it was that Peps decided to try and run it for themselves. But in what we thought, looking at some of the matches in EMEA, would have potentially been the closest one here today. Looking like it has the potential to be a blowout.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the stage now where I'm starting to think, where do we go next? Potentially a Rialto. Look, this is looking from the Peps POV, go to a Rialto, put Woolies on a Diva. It's a great Rialto map, great Diva map. You have the capability of getting a lot of value on Zoro's Freya, which it does, again, seem like he really, really wants to play today. One thing you can do, ban away Quartz's Sojourn. That will really remove a lot of the big pressure. Quartz is, in my mind, probably player of the match from the series so far. I don't know if you'd agree with that one. He is, I mean, yeah, obviously he's going to be the POTM farmer on the team, but it's just, he's that good. He is that good.
I think Psycho's had a really good game here. As we take a look at some of the stats from Eichenwalde, I think Psycho's had a huge impact considering how good Dip was last week in the Peps match that we saw against Quick, where taking a look at some of the highlights, that bola shot, if that bola shot doesn't connect from Zoro, like if Simple has a Suzu there, able to kind of mitigate some of that damage, they may not have even got the 95% that they ended up getting.
Well, you saw in those stats there as well, as just before we sort of moved away. One thing that was quite interesting to me is that Zoro had more damage slightly. He had about 50 or so more damage than Quartz. So what that really tells you is he is getting damage done on the side of Peps with this Frey. He's landing bolts. We saw the first pick.
Yeah.
We saw what he's doing, what he's able to do with his ultimate as well. The bowler that you sort of mentioned there. But they're not otherwise able to really get enough more damage that allows you to actually get a pick that momentum-wise puts you in a winning position, right? So how did they get the 2 ticks again, Matt? They got it because they got Simple down via the bowler. Simple too low, falls over, and then Zerion is able to deploy his Kitsune Rush before Simple returns. But unfortunately, because he's playing a Kiriko, he can just TP back on his teammate through the wall and then deploy his own Kitsune Rush in response, and then eventually TM just wins that fight, and then the entire defense.
Yeah, so Twisted Mind's just one map away here from sweeping this series against Peps. Peps has put up they obviously put up a pretty good fight on Control, I would say, there on Eichenwalde, right? I know not even able to get that first checkpoint. Pretty rough on their map selection with the first ban. They probably didn't account for the Roadhog pick coming in from TM, but TM playing KSA so far here today, and they look quite good. So just one more map for TM to be able to take this series. For Peps, you mentioned Rialto. Like, what other maps could they potentially think on taking?
I just think a long-range map. I think they want a long-range map where they can really pull into Zoro's strengths here. He wants to play the Freya. He's statistically performing on par with with the other teams. So everyone's going to be struggling a little bit, you would expect, when you're getting dominated this hard. I hate to say that, but Zoro is, numbers-wise, he's holding his own. So you want to be able to push that and play into that as much as possible. And it's time to start target banning some players on team. You target ban the Sim already. This time, target ban the Soj. If you want to start putting some real pressure on the team, this might still not be enough, Matt, but you want to put some pressure on the TM. Remove the Soj from the equation. Puts Quartz on something where he's not going to be able to carry as much on. He's going to be forced onto Cass or Freya himself. And I think Zoro wouldn't mind that matchup. So that would be my go-to.
I mean, you have some options here, right? If you wanted those like long sight lines like you were talking about, Junkertown in the Escort pool, Rialto as well. You also have Gibraltar, which is a map historically we don't really see a lot of teams in the EMEA go to. Aatlis will be the pick. So they selected this last week. This is like when they played some Tracer Genji here. They played Sombra. So also continue to play the Hazard. The Hazard not able to be banned out here by TM yet again. So Peps should be able to fall back onto that.
Yeah, I mean, this is also, TM played Zarya here last week versus OWCS, where Chase was also subbed in to play Ball. This is an interesting one. We're going to be playing more towards a dive. I think this is the return of the Hazard. So I think they're happy potentially with how Zoro's performing on the Frey, but they want to put Woolies back on something he's going to be very strong on. I would have expected Woolies on the Diva should have been one of his better picks, but this is going to be return to Hazard for Woolies. I don't know on the DPS side what's going to happen, because is Zoro going to play the Tracer here and then dip on the Genji as they did last week versus Quick? If that's the case, I don't know if that's really playing into where their win condition is at the moment, where Zoro is doing so much damage on the Freya. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely a different look, right? But it's one that potentially could work, just trying to put some more pressure on the courts if you're going to play like a Tracer Genji, or they played some Sombra last week. So taking some of the damage out, like, look, they're not following up on the damage that Zoro's putting down anyway, so may as well have him commit to the dive, like with Willie's in dip. So that's most certainly an option. I think for you use TM, you still have like the FD got Lucio ban, like if you wanted to use that here, right? It takes it away from Funny Astro as well, but it'll be a Kiri ban here for Peps, so that takes it away from Simple on the other side, and they do ban Tracer, so that's quite an interesting scenario, because you take that out of Psycho's hands, but then also out of Dips.
This is also the same ban that Peps used against Quick last week. So essentially then they move towards a Lucio Wuyang backline for Peps, although Lucio Kiriko could also just, Kiriko's gone. Lucio Bap, I think for some other EMEA teams has been a bit of a look, but maybe on this map they really do want to just have that speed option and then more speed coming through from the Wuyang as well, on a more personal side, I suppose. I think Wuyang doesn't quite get played in EMEA as much as I would have expected. Korea is still playing a reasonable amount of Wuyang. It's still a pretty popular pick, but we're just not really seeing that much coming through. The Tracer ban, I don't know if that's super important for Team Peps, but you sort of mentioned it. Dip, Zoro did play it last week on this map against Quick Esports, but given that's been targeted away, you can see that Peps are even considering, could there be a Symmetra coming back for Twisted Minds? They've already prepped the Venture, who on its own is actually, the Venture pick is still reasonable on this map, even if there is no Symmetra. Psycho is looking over towards the possibility of a Mei. He's got a TP out with the Sim, and the real composition to me is going to look like Lucio Bap. So as I sort of said here, Lucio Bap has been an option. With Team Peps, it's going to be Lucio Wuyang.
And TM actually playing the Cassidy here, right? So Cassidy can obviously be an issue for some of these flankers. You have the Baptiste with the Immortality Field being able to kind of keep Quartz alive even longer, really try and punish this Team Peps dive. But actually that's a burrow that comes up by Psycho. He gets hit with some of the damage, and a nice shot from Dip there to finish him off.
This is essentially what OWCS were playing last week. So Twisted Mind's taking a page out of their books. This time it's Quartz on that cast instead of Labda. And of course, Dip, he read the situation correctly. He assumed Psycho would be on the Sim. Starts out on the Venture, try and go for that counter. Zoro on the Reaper here as well. As I've sort of talked about a lot, Reaper starting to really come through as a potential strong meta choice.
And this point's going to be very difficult, I think, for Peps to be able to take. Zoro actually with a TP there gets up the high ground, takes out Simple. But with how spread out the point is, punished, and some high ground control from Twisted Minds, I think this is really impressive that Peps has been able to find these kills and first point control.
You cannot overstate how much impact that nerf on Cass's health really does. It just allows you to potentially burst him down that much quicker. Cass is becoming a bit more of a dangerous pick. Silver Bullets is fine, but I don't even know if we're seeing that much of it at the moment, so it's not the game changer for Cass that maybe Cass players were hoping for it to be. Opening fight going the way of Peps, and good so far on the Revenge Tour.
Yes, we'll see Twisted Minds kind of moves on in, see if they can kind of get Quartz in position, right? You see some of that high ground control here with the Cassidy, just trying to like move him around. Potentially you also build up towards an Ant Matrix here, right? Just kind of consistently poke down at Team Peps, and you see there, nothing Dip can do to stay alive.
Oh, I mean, Azerion might not have had LOS, and his team is falling apart around him. He's going to pop in the bubble lane. I'm not too sure who even really lands it on Peps, so they've lost their entire team. Azerion had first ult. I don't know if he realizes he had first ult, but that's a strong ult that they weren't able to use. Really, if you get a support ult that quickly, a tempo bubble from Zerion onto a player like Dip just to engage with would be very strong. Didn't happen, though.
And I think one of the bigger things there for Twisted Minds, right, is the ult from Zerion on Willies comes in a little bit late, and Twisted Minds already has like a 1 or 2 player advantage at that moment. They don't feel the need to invest like the sound barrier when a few players get knocked down. Simple actually times it really well, gets that Immortality Field out, so when he gets knocked down, him and I believe one other player were inside that Immortality Field, so nothing they could do to follow that up. Nice sound barrier here from FD God as they're gonna get the push in, so they'll deal with Simple. This time looks like we got a DC that is gonna be Quartz actually DCing as Funny Astro uses the beat. So it's gonna be Team Peps in position here after I think like 83% on the point. They're in position to potentially flip this and take that first flashpoint.
So the good news is for Quartz is he literally just used his Deadeye, so it's not like he just lost a critical ultimate. That's the only sort of bit of good news here, but they're essentially now 2 down on TM side. Very unfortunate DC 4 courses, 3 players alive. Twisted Minds had also invested ults into this fight as well. It did seem like Willie's dropped in a downpour that I believe minimum it did catch Courts, and while they didn't quite get that kill initially, but while the DC is here, so that essentially gives them the kill that they were expecting from that downpour. So Team Peps went in. I'm expecting they will get this flip, Matt. This should be first point because it's 83% in their favor. Should be first point going their way.
Yeah, they should. Look, even with the DC, right? Without the DC, Court's still in a position where like FD God gets a big sound barrier, the downpour comes down, you're already a player up, there's a good chance they're going to flip anyway. So once we get back into game, we'll kind of see where we are at in terms of the status of it. But it is Peps with like 83%, I think, yeah, 50 something here for Twisted Minds as we jump back into the action. And looks like we missed some stuff here, Avril, because it's, I guess, double support all used there by Twisted Minds potentially during that, and it is end of a flip here for Team Peps, so they do get control.
As we pause, Simple had already dropped in his amplification matrix, and Funny actually just used the beat, so that was in play. And of course, he's going to come back on Adventure, which is not a hero he's known for at all. We'll see if Peps is able to clean this one up. They don't have a player advantage right now, and this wall from Psycho is going to cause some problems.
Yeah, it looks like it's actually just Courts coming back on this to get a touch, right? The wall actually is really impeccable. Like, pushes some of these players back to the point that Twisted Minds is able to get a flip, and now they get dipped. Dude, if they're able to pull this out, I mean, this would be a steal of the first flashpoint.
Zora needs to do something right now. This is a big opportunity for Team Peps to be able to bring it back around. He's going to TP in, looking for backline, but can he actually lock these players in? Has to get rid of this lamp before we can use this ultimate. He really desperately wants to, but just goes down. Peps have fumbled. They've allowed the point to slip through their fingers, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, this is a brutal 0.1 loss here for Team Peps. So they had a situation where they could have been able to capitalize, right? 84%. They kind of flip it. They get even higher. They do end up holding on to some ultimates here, coming into our second flashpoint, so an opportunity to potentially take this one early, but especially with the way that things are going against Twisted Minds, you needed to secure that first point.
Zara just revealed his own positioning so early, allowed the response to come on through, and by the way, Courts DC'd and Team Peps had every advantage in terms of players coming on in. It's going to be Bubble engaged onto Zara, Funny Astro falling over first. Still looking for the potential to use Death Blossom, but they might be able to clean this one without doing so. It's just the window.
This hand matrix, though, I mean, look how low Willie's is. I mean, he's going to have to back up. They're going to make a push here. A lot of members of Peps dangerously low. It's Zoro kind of reactive there. Death Blossom and Dip also using the Tectonic Shock. Ooh. That's actually enough to flip it.
Dip will be able to come in and save the day here. One last rematch onto KSA, and Dip, he just doesn't get into the ground time. I think Funny Astro might have booped him, and that half a second of extra airtime as Dip is trying to burrow into the ground means he gets exploded by the self-destruct on KSA. Oh, that is rough, man.
I mean,
Dip nearly saved the day.
Yeah, I mean, Dip and Zoro almost did, right? They end up both investing their ultimates at that time. And man, just to lose a fight like that, another really rough one here for Peps. Yeah, I mean, it is definitely heartbreaking. FD God's got to get good use of this sound barrier. Connects absolutely everybody as they try and put pressure on the high ground, but Funny Astro's going to have the later beat.
Quartz has got to go down early here. Is this opportunity? Team Peps 5 versus 4. The beat is gone. There's no more ultimates available, but as the dust settles, Zerion falling over first. Psycho's close to that wall, and that could be the finisher here. We're nearing the 80% mark, which is the mark you have to really be careful of. Basically, one fight territory for TN.
Yes, it's actually going to be a push there from Will. He's trying to find any targets. Knows he can't just kind of like sit on the point or sit down there and kind of wait for that next fight. This Twisted Minds realize that they go in, they push out, they take the tank out of Peps. Yeah, the later sound barrier good for Funny Astro, although it doesn't connect with Quartz, still does enough to keep them in the fight. And you may end up losing a few players here for Twisted Minds on the rotation, but still, Avril, the damage is done. I mean, they're up 2-0.
It's the consolation prize here for Peps. They didn't get the main lion's share of what they were looking for on that second point, and now not only a reverse sweep in the series required, but a reverse sweep on this particular map itself. They have to get the next 3 points in a row. Psycho didn't even feel the need to deploy his photon barrier, saving it for this next opening fight. Simple's got himself another window. This guy's been farming up ults like nobody's business.
Oh, they use a TP here, and then they drop that Amp Matrix, so it catches a few players off guard a little bit there from that high ground. Nice use of the TP, getting back up to this position, and some sick shots from Simple. He's able to take out FD God. You're also getting the healing here on a KSA. So just like that, it's actually Peps not even getting in position here, Avril, to be able to take the point first, right? Even if they get some of those kills on the rotation, it'll be Twisted Minds getting our first capture.
And we didn't even need the Photon Barrier coming through from Psycho. It was just a window again. Simple's already on his way halfway towards his next. Once more, he's just farming up these ultimates. Zerion has to be a little bit considerate of his own HP. He popped in that Lijiang bubble to open things up for Team Peps. They just lose out to the window on the opposing side. So Peps, this is the big fight. They got the ultimates here. This feels like a must-win fight to me. This is where they got all their resources.
They've had like 9 must-win fights in a row, it feels like, as ooh, nice way to get out of the way. They see Dip kind of coming there with the burrow about to pop up, and they use the TP to get out of dodge. It'll be the tectonic shot, but he's dangerously low. Yeah, he's not going to be able to like finish off anybody.
What's his core? But is he going to go down here? No one from Team Peps able to actually capitalize on the fact that the downpour does catch a key member of Twisted Minds, and now for Team Peps, it's 2 ultimates. Death Blossom, FD God holding on to beat here as well. One more reset. Psycho, you'd imagine this time he's going to drop in the Photon Barrier, and that could be the game. 80% now.
Yeah, it's going to be the barrier here from Psycho, so it's going to split a lot of the point off. Is Bunny Asher getting dangerously low here. Zero just trying to finish him off. Get some help as Simple throws in the Immortality Field. Not enough to keep Astro and Co alive. That will get Twisted Minds to 99 here though, Avril. So just one more fight, and what I worry about for Team Peps is it's going to be Quartz coming up with an overclock and nothing for Peps to deal with it.
Nope. This is the problematic thing. Zerion does again have an ultimate, but will they use it defensively or to engage? They would prefer to engage with this one. Willie's now on towards the ball, not really one of his main heroes. Desperately waiting for this William ult to be available for Zerion. But of course, we know what the OC means. The OC is going to be the coup de grace, you'd imagine. Twisted Minds, they want to finish this now.
Yeah, some nice shots here from Quartz. It's going to be Dip getting that protective barrier there from Zerion. So as he goes in deep, but they're not able to find anything with that overclock. So maybe an opportunity to fight back into this, but it's going to be the point flipped.
KSA on 1 HP. He needs a little bit of healing. He needs the remake if possible, but Zerion and Willie's the only players alive for Peps. They can't quite finish off KSA. He's going to heal back into the fight. Quartz coming back on a Sombra here as well. No more Willies means it's going to be difficult for the point touch. Matt, I think this is over. Peps, they just don't have enough members alive.
No, I mean, they were in a rough scenario even at the start of that fight. I think they did a nice job even dragging it out as long as they possibly did. It's just a last-ditch effort there from Dip.
It was a last-ditch effort.
Twisted, yeah, last-ditch effort. I mean, that's a 3-0 there from Twisted Minds. So thought this one could be potentially close given some performances last week, but Twisted Minds, I mean, they just show that they are clear and cut up there with Alcatia for best in the region.
I'll say this much, Matt, and the stats confirm this. I just checked. This is very important. I have Quartz as the overall player of the match Percy for the game, but this map in particular, look at Simple stats. His damage is on par basically with the DPS line of Peps. Beyond that, his healing is more than the basic. Well, it's not more, it's like nearly double the combined healing of FD God and Zerion together. I mean, he's got so much healing, and we're wondering, I'm sitting here, how often is he getting this window? What I need is a stat line for, like, what is the average time that Simple is getting these amp matrices? Because he's going to get them damn quick. I'm like, he's getting these every single fight. When you see his combined stats, it's no wonder he's dealing DPS damage in terms of a DPS role on top of dealing insane healing. It's unreal.
My fantasy
backline is feasting. On our fantasy team.
My fantasy team is doing good. Matt's fantasy team low-key in shambles because KSA was in the mix all series long. You know what? You're losing here, but I feel like everyone watching has been a winner because we got to see KSA on Hog. I'm here for the Hog v Hog, quite frankly.
And I benched him today.
Yeah, I know. Like, what a stupid thing to do, Matt. Why would you do that?
my fantasy team is like the Grim Reaper going door to door, just killing people's days. So look out.
It's rough out there. Avril, I believe you have Psycho in your mix, right? Is that correct?
I do have Psycho in my mix, so I'm happy with what he was able to do there.
Yeah, I'm just very happy to see them whilst they're still relying on those old compositions. You guys touched on that, obviously, on in round 2 here on Lijiang Tower. For Psycho to be able to just, like, swap over to the Symmetra if needed, but also playing the Tracer, which is just like the meta pick right now. That just bodes so well for this Twisted Mind squad. Like, I feel like they're meta proof, and even with KSA in the mix, like, they didn't really miss a step there, right? Like,
yeah. And of course, we did see what Quartz is able to do. Mitch will be happy with that. Mitch is struggling in some other areas of his team, but he has Quartz on his team. So he'll be happy that Quartz definitely did a bit of stat padding for Team Mitch. Overall, though, you know, it's another situation where you just have so much talent on Twisted Minds. This is one of these teams where you can say the talent is there, and it's not a meme. It's like it's there, and they're also winning, and they're also dominating too. So you move TVNT away, you put KSA back in the starting lineup. They didn't even look bad with TVNT and went last week. They went to map 5 and nearly got the reverse sweep in. But then you put KSA in, and really, I think the diva is you would prefer TVNT to maybe play on the team. KSA comes and plays that, no issues. But then he's got the extra heroes. He's got that extra hog in there. He even flashed the Ryan, which I think is secretly, like, if a lot of Zarya starts showing up, expect the Ryan to be there in response.
Yeah, it just shows that Twisted Minds are just a few level above our mid-table teams here. So while Peps did look better last week, today they just didn't really find an answer to what Twisted Minds is doing. Twisted Minds was in full control of everything.
I don't think it's all doom and gloom for Peps, though, right?
That's not what I'm saying.
Just about everybody's going to lose here to Twisted Minds in this type of fashion.
Exactly.
I think it just shows that, like, how Twisted Minds and Alcatia have put such a gap, it feels like, between them two and everybody else in the EMEA. And I think, like, Virtus Pro, obviously at the beginning of the year was like the team in EMEA, right? They like never lost, and then all of a sudden, kind of like Alcatia and TM like rose up out of not necessarily nowhere, right? But rose up to pass them. Where I still think VP is going to be in the mix.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree.
I think this is a very stacked region in general, so there's very few freebies, especially if we're looking at like the mid-table of the teams there. With Vision having had such a good performance in week 1, I think that just makes that mid-table really, really stacked and very difficult. So looking ahead for Team Peps, I think their next opponent is Gen G. That could potentially be a win, depending on what we're seeing from Gen G later today. But after that, they still have to face off against Alcatia, which is not going to be theirs to win. Vision Esports, as I said before, right, they've played it really, really well in week 1, so we expect a even matchup right there, and then
VP after that.
VP after that. So it's a tough one, man.
It's not a lot of easy games here. I mean, Gen G found that out last stage. There's just very little easy games out here. There's so many. Even Quick last stage was really punching above their weight until, you know, unfortunately until the end they kind of fumbled a little bit, but at the start, I mean, they were really punching above their weight. So it's a difficult region, very top heavy, and if you're Peps, you got to try and find what little wins you can get where you can. But TM, as I sort of expected here, and I don't say in a gloating way, but we expected TM to be the much better team, and they proved that without a shadow of a doubt. They really didn't give any quarter to Peps at all. But the full hold on Eichenwalde tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, especially, you know, getting some Roadhog action there from Twisted Minds. A little Roadhog v Roadhog action on Eichenwalde. That was a fun one.
Moment. We love that.
But EMEA is, like how you kind of mentioned, Avril, and I think you mentioned it too, so we were like, there aren't, like, many gimme games in EMEA. Like, everybody is, like, pretty competitive, you know, compared to, you know, maybe some of the other regions out there. So, it's like for Peps, like every game is going to be a tough game. It only seems like for you know, TM, Alcatia, and VP, like they're only really worried about playing each other.
Exactly. I do wonder when are we going to see VP going up against Twisted Minds. If Twisted Minds can get away with continuing to play the Symmetra, will they? Is TVNT like the tank they're subbing in when they're like going up against a very serious opponent? Is that kind of the subbing strat? That's kind of what I'm wondering.
Week 4, sorry. Week 4 is VP TM. Week 3, next week is Alcatia versus VP. So VP after this week, and you know, I'm maybe getting ahead of myself because I was about to say VP after this week is going to have some really hard games coming up, which is maybe throwing some shade at Gen G. I hope Gen G do well today, but VP, it's Alcatia and TM in the next following 2 weeks. That'll be really big challenges for them for sure.
VP might have the hardest schedule. Like,
they're also one of the best teams, though.
Yeah, they are, but like if you're looking who they're up against, even at the very end, like they have one like easy win in there, Gen G could be one of those two. We don't know yet. But in the last week, when they are going up against teams that are like strong mid-table teams, that's the 1 week where they have like back-to-back matches. So that's going to make it difficult in its own way.
Yes and no. I mean, I don't think that they're really worried about like, oh, like maybe we miss like a playoff or something like that. Like that's not going to happen. I think at that point, they're just playing for seeding, and then quite frankly, like number one and maybe even like they're almost even like you think like playing like with Alcatia, right? Like, you know, it's going to be maybe 1 or 2 type of position, right? It's not going to be a massive swing in terms of the standings, I feel like.
Right. Enough waffling, gentlemen. We do have KSA joining us now for a quick winners interview. It should be voice only, so let's see if they can hear us. KSA, are you with us?
Yeah, hello. Guys,
hello.
First of all, I'm sorry about this. I'm sorry about this mic. I tried to put my headset mic, but it didn't work, so I'm using my webcam. Like, that's why it sounds a little bit scuffed.
It's fine.
It's all right. Scuffed is what we're all about. Like that's literally my life in a nutshell. But KSA, the match did not look scuffed for you. That was a very dominant performance. We didn't get to see you in week 1. We kind of expected you to be, let's call it meta benched. Today, you were in action on D.Va, on Hog even. What's the subbing strat looking like between you and TVNT going forward?
I mean, when the meta switched and they nerfed my Ram, and the meta leaned towards more D.Va hazard, we thought like, why not try TVNT, because those are like more base heroes. But throughout testing, the meta kept developing, and then all of a sudden Roadhog is apparently good right now, so I decided to try me out.
You mentioned the meta there a little bit. Where do you think the meta currently is? Because we look across the different regions, Korea's meta is developing very quickly. They've started out with Tracer Genji Ball, and now just last night they're moving in towards more of a Zarya Reaper type of look. So things are changing quite rapidly. Even you were saying week 1, maybe the hero pool for the meta was looking better for TVT. Now it's maybe looking better for you. Where do you think the current meta is for your team in your region?
I think, honestly, for us, it's more like D.Va, Roadhog, maybe sometimes Reinhardt, you know, the usual. But it really depends from team to team. I don't think there's any set meta right now.
Hey KSA, I gotta tell you how dirty you did my fantasy team. I picked you one of the first tanks off the board last week, and then you didn't play. So this week I wasn't sure. I picked up Willie's, and then you just beat him down for 3 straight games. So I feel bad that I jumped off the train. But I gotta ask, with you guys and Alcatia kind of sitting at top of the region, I would say like VP kind of like in that mix. Are there any other teams like across the EMEA that have impressed you, or even some individual players we should be looking at this stage that are on the come up?
Honestly, I still believe that the gap between the top 3 teams, us, Alpha, VP, is like still like so big between the other teams. In my opinion, also, VP is a pretty good team right now because it's not there's no more Sim. So I mean, we saw them before, like the meta changed to Sim. In Stage 1, they went undefeated. I think that's also a top team right now in my opinion. What do we consider?
I got a bonus question here, because you mentioned Alcatia, but I am curious about last week's game. How do you feel? I mean, given that you didn't play, but how do you feel you guys went against Alcatia? You barely lost out, required a reverse sweep, you nearly did it, but it's another 5 map between you guys and Alcatia. So what did you guys learn from last week's game, and what are you applying to your team now?
Honestly, it's just the same, every time we go against Alpha, just into a map fight. For the last few times we go against them into a map fight, hasn't been going our way. I think Esperanza, we didn't play that well. Like one unlucky fight. Like if we won that just one fight, the second fight after we win the first fight, we just snowballed into 100 meters, but we didn't, so just need to play better.
It's that simple. Just gotta,
be better.
Just be better.
Push do be like that. Push do be like that, Snowball. Yep.
Exactly. Well, KSA, we love to see you guys back in action and continue your dominant performance from stage 2. Once again, congratulations on the dub. Hopefully for many more to come. Thank you so much and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.